Okay, so today's class we'll be talking about positivity and the Rebbe's unique approach how to deal with positivity. You know, somebody called me last week on Thursday and they say, Rabbi, what's up? And I say, okay, well, what do you want? They say, I just need to hear your voice. I just need to feel your energy. He says, I have big problems. The recession is here for him. His job has been basically on hold for the last couple of months. He has no clients. And he has got big problems. But whenever he has problems, he thinks, okay, let me call the rabbi. Let me hear that. You just feel the positivity. He doesn't even need to hear anything. He just needs to hear it. So today I want to share with you where this approach comes from. And the Rebbe's unique approach. It actually reminded me of the joke, the husband and wife. So the husband and the wife are driving, and the husband notices that the wife takes out a purse and she has a picture of him in her wallet, in her purse. So he says to her, what's that for? She says, whenever I have any problem, I take out this picture and I see you and all my problems disappear. So the husband, feeling very romantic, he says, wow, how exactly does that work? So she says, whatever problem I have, I take out this picture and I think, whatever problem I have is not bigger than this problem right here. So anyway, let's start off with the story. Rabbi Gordon passed away a couple of years ago, was the Chabad rabbi founding Chabad of the Valley in California, in the San Fernando Valley. A very, very successful Chabad Shliach. There are many Chabad centers today in the valley. So when he went on Shlichus, when he went to establish a Chabad center, so the Rebbe wrote to him that if you want to succeed, you need to first of all work hard. But the wording the Rebbe used was, he blessed him to make firm decisions with alacrity and to work hard with faith and trust in Hashem. So this rabbi used to get up every morning early, work hard, and with alacrity, and have a trust in Hashem. So one time, he had a tremendous problem, huge problem, and he didn't know how to fix it. It was a problem which threatened his entire Chabad operation, and it was such a big problem that he had no idea how he could possibly get out of it. So his wife wrote a 10-page letter to the Rebbe. Literally a 10-page letter to the Rebbe. And in the letter she detailed literally everything. She detailed everything, her whole problem. So the Rebbe wrote back on the same day the Rebbe received the letter. The Rebbe wrote back like this, and I'm going to read you what the Rebbe wrote back. It was so powerful. The Rebbe wrote, time and again, in your holy work as shluchim, you have imagined that the situation you find yourself in is the end of the world. But then you saw how the situation flipped over and became visible and revealed good. You must, in all cases, follow the command of the Tzemach Tzedek to think optimistically, and things will turn out well. In other words, what Rabbi Gordon said, the Rebbe's prompt response was illuminating. The answer is a teaching that he took with him every single day till the end of his life. To think positively. This was something, the Rebbe's unique approach. In whatever situation we find ourselves in, with this COVID-19 pandemic, some people are ill, some people have lost their jobs, some people are in fear, some people, we don't know. We have so many problems. Being in quarantine for so long, we have so many issues. And the Rebbe's message is to constantly, continuously think good. Whatever the situation, whatever we find ourselves in, always think good. 1 second. Let me just continue here a second. Hold on. Second. Just trying to get a sense here. 1 second. Okay, so. Oh, hold on. 1 second. How about that? Is that better? Hold on. 1 second. We're having a little technical issue here. 1 second. Hold on. 1 second. Okay, so what was the story the Rebbe referred to? It was a famous story. One of the followers of the Tzemach Tzedek, the third Lubavitcher Rebbe, was one time his son fell seriously ill. He had a 10-year-old child, very, very ill. And the father of the ill boy, in those days there's no Facebook, there's no Instagram, no Telegram, so he had to rush over a few days' journey to the village where the Tzemach Tzedek lived. So with a heavy heart, he made his journey to the Rebbe, and he was crying when he came to the Rebbe, and his first thought was, I have no idea what the situation, what the condition of my son is he even alive? And when he came to the Rebbe told him the words, Tracht gut wird sein gut. Think good, and it will be good. And he took these words to heart, and when he came home, he discovered that his son was perfectly well. You see, what does it mean, think good and it will be good? What does that mean? How do we actually do it? By thinking good, we generate that it will be good. But how does that work? You see, when you have a problem, when we have a problem, when we face with a crisis, so naturally we want to worry, we want to be upset, we want to think all negative thoughts. And when a person takes himself or herself and instead of thinking negative thoughts, think positive thoughts, this creates that God also, instead of doing the natural, which is, let's say, to punish a person, God will do the unnatural and generate positivity to the person. In other words, when a person thinks good, he or she actually generates that it will be good. And here's perhaps one of the greatest stories of the Rebbe to demonstrate this exact idea. There was once a man studying in New York in 1957. This was the early days when the Rebbe just became Rebbe, and he received a letter from his family in Israel saying that his father had suffered a heart attack and was in critical condition. Now the letter took a couple of days to arrive in New York. There's no overseas phone calls, were prohibitively expensive, so the young man was very anxious, he was very saddened, and he was devastated by the thought that he had no idea what his father's condition was. Maybe his father, God forbid, passed away already. So he wrote a note to the Rebbe explaining the situation, and he ended off the note with the following words. He wrote, I don't even know what to think at this point. Now he meant in exasperation, in desperation. And in his response, the Rebbe underlined the student's final sentence where he said, I don't even know what to think at this point. And the Rebbe wrote next to it, shocking. Because the instruction of our sages in such situation is, think good and it will be good. And the Rebbe ended off, I await good news. So a few tense days passed by. And finally the young man reached his mother on the phone, and he said to her, how's my father? And he said, he's out of danger. So she said, when did this happen? So he said, Thursday night. So he hung up the phone with his mother. The young man went to 770 to Chabad headquarters for the afternoon mincha prayers. And on his way out of the shul, the Rebbe turned to him and says, Nu, do you have good news for me? And the man said, yes, I just phoned home and I was told that my father is out of danger. So the Rebbe asked him, since when? And the man answered, since Thursday night. And here's the key to the story. The Rebbe asked him, and when did you begin to think good? And he said, when the Rebbe told me so. And the Rebbe persisted. He said, when was that? He said, Thursday evening. See, the Rebbe took a direct correlation between the man thinking good about his father and his father being good. That is the way the Rebbe said. Always train yourself to think good. In this pandemic, in this coronavirus times, situated at home and we don't know what's happening, we have no idea. What did the Rebbe think? Think good. Now I want to conclude with one final story on this situation. Again, how the Rebbe thinks about these situations. There was a certain chassid who was due to have a very serious operation in a few weeks' time, and he organized a private audience with the Rebbe. And during the private audience, he asked the Rebbe for a blessing that the surgery be a success. Right? He was very nervous, very anxious about his upcoming surgery, so he asked the Rebbe for a blessing that the surgery shall be a success. And the Rebbe grew very, very serious. And he said, instead of asking that I pray that the surgery be successful, you could have asked me to pray that you do not need the surgery at all. So the chassid immediately, he said, Rebbe, I would like to ask for a blessing that I do not need the surgery at all. And the Rebbe replied, it's too late. I can only work with the faith you had when you entered my office. You see, the Rebbe taught us to think big when it comes to positivity. Don't just channel yourself to ask God that things return back to normal when the pandemic ends. No, think much bigger. Think that the world should become a much, much better place. Of course, Mashiach and all that. But we don't want to return back to normal the way it was. We want things to be much, much greater. And this is what the Rebbe taught us. Expand our faith. Expand our horizons. Think good. Train us to think positively all the time. And this will generate that it will be positive in the most incredible way.